What is up, friends? Netflix just dropped the Big Mouth Valentine's Day special, My Furry Valentine, so let's talk about it, and of course, spoilers ahead. This was basically a double-length episode that picks up almost immediately where Season 2 left off, and of course takes place on Valentine's Day. They also chose to intercut the episode with little sit-down interviews with the kids and their hormone monsters, and the doc-style formatting is not something we've really seen them do in the past outside of a Coach Steve joke. Each character had a pretty thorough but separate story in this special. Nick is dealing with his new hormone monstrous Connie, Jay is learning how to live his life as a bisexual and attempts to balance time between the two pillows he's dating, Andrew tries to win back Missy, Jesse continues to cope with their mom's relationship with Cantor Dina, and we see how Matthew lives his life as the only out gay kid at school. I felt that some of these stories worked really well, some not as much, and a lot of them were painful to watch, as seems to be customary with Big Mouth. For the most part, I really enjoyed seeing Nick's struggles to adapt to life with Connie. There were some definite growing pains and some very weird, uncomfortable moments, but overall, I think he's in a much better place with Connie than he was with Rick or Tyler. Nick had some brutally awkward moments towards the end of Season 2, and it was good to see him recover and seem to be on a positive path. I was glad that Gina returned for the special and that they seem to be setting her up to continue to be a big part of the series. Gina Rodriguez is great, and it always bums me out when guest stars show up for a season and then are never heard from again. And Nick seems to be back on decent terms with her, so good for you, Nick. Jesse had a relatively small but very satisfying arc in this special. I love the team up of Jesse and Matthew. They've got great chemistry, and I dug their scenes together a lot, and the way that Matthew made Jesse realize that her mom deserves love was surprisingly touching. I was really happy to see a little bit of resolution to that ongoing conflict. Speaking of Matthew, I'm so glad he was such a major focus of this episode. He's such a great character, and Andrew Rannells is amazing in the role, so putting him front and center is something I hope they continue to do in Season 3. As I mentioned, I really loved his chemistry with Jesse, and exploring some of his struggles and insecurities was something the show needed. I loved that he ultimately met someone he's interested in, and his calm, cool flirtation style was a great character moment. Also, the revelation that Maury loves Matthew more than his other kids was just perfect. I loved that bit. Jay's story was interesting and led to some important character growth for him, but I honestly found myself a little over the two Valentine's dates tropes. I get that they were trying to fill the entire episode with stupid cliches, but I've just always found that trope really tedious. It was still pretty funny, and I liked that he ultimately decided he needed to take a break from his love life. The shot where he made the pillows disappear with his magic was really silly, but surprisingly heartfelt, so kudos to the Big Mouth team for that. Now, Andrew's story. Oof, this was absolutely brutal. This might have been the single most painful story they've portrayed for any of these kids in Big Mouth. His attempts to play it cool were so uncomfortable, and the rash under his hat genuinely made me sick, but the absolute worst was his insistence that Lars could actually walk and was faking needing a wheelchair. My god, I could not stop cringing this entire damn episode. I will admit it was pretty funny how Maury was pretty much enabling Andrew's absolutely awful and pathetic decisions at every turn, yet he still knew that the wheelchair thing was taking it way too far. Maury isn't exactly a voice of reason on the show, so when he's not on your side, you know you're messing up. While I did find this entire story arc to be just so painful to watch, his ultimate fail at the end did make me laugh a lot. Dumping the trash all over himself and then falling down and farting in the street. I mean, that's just good comedy. Coach Steve had a pretty cute little part in this episode too. We learned that he works at Walgreens now, and of course he fell in love with a Walgreens brand Valentine's heart that says I love you. The creepy, weird doll he made out of various items simultaneously made me laugh and cringe, but mostly I'm just glad Steve found another job. Another side plot I love was Judd's Valentine's date. When he went to Walgreens for little bow ties, I knew they were going to be for his raccoons, and I was not disappointed. He's becoming a really weird and fascinating character, and I'm eager to see where they go with him. This special also had 3 different musical sequences. After Season 1 had a musical number in almost every episode, Season 2 seemed to reel it back in a little bit, but for the special they just went all out. I really enjoyed Matthew and Jesse's musical number at the restaurant. It added to their chemistry pretty effectively, and they should probably have Andrew Rannells sing on the show more often. If you aren't aware, the dude is a crazy talented Broadway performer. Just go listen to all of Book of Mormon, do yourself a favor. Connie's musical sequence was also another highlight, which was a longer version of the Big Mouth theme song. The montage worked really well, and singing the theme in sort of a sad, reflective scenario just worked perfectly. A couple other small things I noticed had to do with hormone monsters and their relations to humans. Connie made a point to say that some boys do have hormone monstresses rather than monsters. I think we can probably expect to find out that Nick's dad had a hormone monstress, as he seems to display a lot of the sensitivities that were featured between Nick and Connie. Now, speaking of adults and their relations to hormone monsters, we saw Nick talking to Duke Ellington about Connie, and Duke did seem to understand a lot about the human hormone monster relationships. Other than Coach Steve, I believe believe this is the only adult who has actually acknowledged the existence of these monsters on the show. He also had the musical number with Connie, so we know that he can actually see the monsters as well. This obviously could just be because he's a ghost, but I did still find it interesting that we haven't seen any other adults talk about their experiences with monsters yet. Many have speculated that maybe you forget about your hormone monster when you become an adult, so I'm curious if this will be addressed in season 3 this fall. Overall, I did mostly enjoy My Furry Valentine. It maybe had a little more cringe humor than I like in Big Mouth, but it had some really great character development that set us up for season 3. I hope the next season reels in the cringe a little bit from this episode, but you know, only a little. We need awkward teenage drama for the show to work. While it wasn't my favorite episode of Big Mouth, it definitely got me excited for what they're going to do with season 3, and that's where I want to pass it off to you. Did you guys like the Big Mouth Valentine's Day special? Are you excited for season 3 this fall? Let me know below in the comments. I also want to give you all a huge thank you because I am just a few subscribers away from hitting 10,000. I know I don't release videos as consistently as I could, but the fact that so many of you come through to watch my reviews and analysis seriously means a lot to me. I hope y'all liked this video, and I don't have much planned for the near future, but you can always check out the series I write for Nerdist, Animation Investigation. We've done some really great episodes I'm proud of, and so go check them out if you really like my analysis. Alright folks, I'll catch you next time.
Johnny! To Cellos!